When you think of ancient China, you might picture wise emperors and grand dynasties. But what about the women who ruled from behind the curtain, or even on the throne itself?
Some of China's most powerful empresses wielded influence with more than just a royal decree. We're talking poison, politics, a web of lovers, and iron fist ambition.
From Wu Zetian, who allegedly had her rival's hands and feet cut off, to Empress Dowager Cixi, whose lavish spending brought an empire to its knees. These women were masters of seduction and survival.
They didn't just play the game.
They rewrote the rules. Today, we're diving into the seductive and often brutal strategies of ancient China's most notorious empresses.
Get ready, because history is way wilder than you think. Our journey begins with the one and only woman to ever officially rule China as emperor in her own right, Wu Zetian.
Her story is a masterclass in climbing the political ladder, using every tool at her disposal.
She started her journey in the palace as a low-ranking concubine to Emperor Taizong, but she was smart, beautiful, and incredibly ambitious. After Taizong's death, most of his childless concubines were sent to a Buddhist monastery to live out their days, but not Wu Zetian.
She had already caught the eye of the crown prince, Li Ji, who was Taizong's son.
When he became Emperor Gaozong, he brought her back to the palace, much to the dismay of his wife, Empress Wang, and his favorite consort. This is where Wu Zetian's ruthless genius truly began to shine.
She knew that to secure her position, she had to eliminate her rivals. Legend has it that when her own newborn daughter died, she framed Empress Wang for the murder.
Whether she actually killed her own child or simply capitalized on a tragic accident is still debated by historians, but the outcome was the same. Emperor Gaozong, consumed by greed and rage, deposed Empress Wang and elevated Wu Zetian to the position of Empress Consort. But she wasn't done yet.
The former empress and another rival consort were imprisoned, and according to some horrifying accounts, Wu Zetian ordered their hands and feet to be chopped off, and their bodies thrown into large wine vats so they could drown in their own drunkenness with her rivals gone.
Wu Zetian's influence over the weak-willed Emperor Gaozong grew exponentially. She became the de facto ruler, handling state affairs while the emperor's health declined.
She established a secret police force to eliminate any potential threats, creating a climate of fear that solidified her power.
After Gaozong's death, she ruled through her sons, placing them on the throne and deposing them when they showed any signs of independence.
Finally, in the year 690, she cast aside all pretense and declared herself emperor of a new dynasty, the Zhou. She was no longer an empress pulling strings.
She was the supreme ruler.
Her reign was marked by both brutal purges and effective governance, expanding the empire's territory and promoting Buddhism. She even surrounded herself with a collection of handsome, talented men known as the Office of Crane Control, who served as her advisors and, it's widely believed, her lovers.
Wu Zetian ruled for 15 years, a woman who clawed her way to the absolute pinnacle of power in a man's world. Fast forward about 1,000 years, and we meet another formidable woman who held the fate of China in her hands, Empress Dowager Cixi.
Unlike Wu Zetian, Cixi never took the title of emperor, but for nearly half a century, she was the undisputed ruler of the late Qing dynasty. She entered the Forbidden City as a low-ranking concubine to the Xiongfeng emperor, and like Wu Zetian, secured her future by giving birth to his only surviving son. When the emperor died, her 5-year-old son ascended the throne, and Cixi became Xiu regent. She was clever and politically astute, quickly outmaneuvering her Xiu regent and other court officials to consolidate her power. She became known as the Empress of the West Palace, ruling from behind a silk screen as her young son sat on the throne. Cixi's court was a labyrinth of intrigue and hidden power plays. She was a master of manipulation, playing factions against each other and using the system of eunuchs and officials to her advantage. She was suspicious, and those who crossed her often met mysterious ends. One of her favorite methods was the subtle use of poison, or accidents, that were anything but.
She maintained her grip on power even after her son came of age, and when he died under suspicious circumstances, she installed her young nephew on the throne as the Guangxu emperor, allowing her to continue her regency. Cixi wasn't just a political animal. She was also known for her extravagant lifestyle. While the Qing Empire was facing internal rebellions and increasing pressure from Western powers, she was busy building a magnificent summer palace. In one infamous story, Funds that were meant to modernize the Chinese Navy were allegedly diverted to construct a massive, elaborate marble boat, a pleasure craft that sat uselessly in a lake at her palace. This disconnect between Cix's lavish world and the crumbling state of her empire would ultimately be her downfall, and the dynasties.
The Guangxu Emperor, influenced by reformers, attempted to modernize China in what was known as the 100 Days Reform.
Cixi saw this as a direct threat to her authority and the conservative Manchu establishment. In a swift coup, she placed the emperor under house arrest, effectively ending his reign and crushing the reform movement.
She then threw her support behind the Boxer Rebellion, a violent anti-foreign and anti-Christian uprising.
She believed the Boxers' mystical claims of invulnerability could drive out the Western powers. This was a catastrophic miscalculation.
An alliance of 8 foreign nations invaded China, captured Beijing, and forced the imperial court to flee.
The humiliation was immense. Cixi was forced to sign a humiliating treaty, pay massive reparations, and watch as foreign troops occupied her capital.
The power and prestige of the Qing dynasty were shattered beyond repair. Although Cixi attempted some reforms in her final years, it was too little too late.
The seeds of revolution had been sown. Cixi died in 1908. Just one day after the mysterious death of the imprisoned Guangxu emperor. Many believe she had him poisoned to prevent him from retaking power after her death.
Just 3 years later, in 1911, the Xinhai Revolution erupted, overthrowing the Qing dynasty and ending thousands of years of imperial rule in China.
Cixi's spider web of power had finally unraveled, bringing an entire era to a close. So what is the legacy of these powerful, notorious women?
For centuries, Wu Zetian was vilified by Confucian historians as a cruel, usurping tyrant who disrupted the natural order.
Cixi was painted as the dragon empress whose selfish extravagance and conservative policies led to the downfall of China. They were cautionary tales, warnings of what happens when women gain too much power.
But in modern times, these figures have been re-evaluated. They are now often seen as complex, brilliant women who operated within a deeply patriarchal system and achieved an unprecedented level of authority. Wu Zetian is sometimes celebrated as a feminist icon, a woman who proved she could rule as effectively, if not more so, than any man.
Cixi is viewed as a product of her time, a shrewd survivor who did what she thought was necessary to protect her dynasty, even if her methods were ultimately self-defeating.
Their stories continue to fascinate us, inspiring countless books, TV dramas, and films. They are no longer just villains. They are symbols of female ambition, power, and the incredible, often brutal, lengths one must go to in order to rule.
The tales of China as empresses are a potent reminder that history is filled with powerful women who refuse to be footnotes.
They use seduction, strategy, and sheer force of will to shape empires. From Wu Zetian's bloody path to the throne, to Cix's opulent and ultimately tragic reign, their stories are as captivating as they are controversial. They prove that behind every great empire, there are often even greater women pulling the strings, for better or for worse.
Thanks for watching.
If you found the stories of these ruthless empresses as fascinating as we did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history's most compelling figures. Let us know in the comments which notorious ruler you want us to cover next.
See you in the next video.